Testing, testing. Okay, welcome everybody. Can you hear okay? Okay, we'll just get started in 1 minute. I just kind of want to test the mic, make sure we have all the volume. Okay. But I turned it off. Okay, now we have it. All right. Okay, well, we can go ahead and get started in just a second here. Thank you so much, everybody, for being out here, supporters, media. My name is Jay Speilinga. I'm regional coordinator with the Michigan League of Conservation Voters. I use he, him pronouns. And we're out here today to talk about the Campbell Power Plant and it being forced to stay open by the Trump administration. And to start out, we're going to have Representative Stephen Wooden speak after me, Dr. Stephen Ashmead, John Kinch, Christian Clyans, and then a substitute speaker for Ruby Mullins will be Parth Sharma, another young activist. So to go ahead and just introduce this issue, on May 23rd, the Trump administration ordered the JH Campbell coal plant behind us to remain open. It was slated to be closed on May 31st, so just a few days before that closure, he announced that. And the Campbell coal plant is Consumers Energy's last coal-fired power plant and one of the largest contributors to pollution in our state. The closure of the plant was in the works for years and was projected to save Michiganders $600 million by 2040. So the Trump administration justified its order under a false emergency to forward his agenda of propping up an outdated and expensive fossil fuels. So keeping the plant open is costing $1 million per day. And according to Consumers Energy, the first 5 weeks has cost upwards of $29 million. So we really need to make sure we do something about this. And Michiganders already pay the highest cost for energy in the Midwest, and DT and Consumers Energy were already asking state regulators for a $1 billion rate hike, not including the ongoing costs of keeping the plant open. So this is a clear example of how the Trump administration is making our energy costs more expensive and locking us into outdated, expensive fossil fuel infrastructure when we should be moving as quickly as possible to cleaner, more affordable energy options. Trump's order was temporary, but could be extended and it ends in late August. And if you go down the street, you'll see a lot of coal trains full of coal. So I'm wondering about that myself. But however, on the other hand, the proven increases in costs and health impacts, keeping the outdated plant open. Some members of Congress, like Representative Bill Huizenga, are cheering the Trump administration on. So we're calling on state and federal lawmakers to push back on the Trump administration's reckless and expensive energy policies to protect our health, our Great Lakes, and stop our energy rates from skyrocketing. So I want to take a moment to commend Attorney General Dana Nessel, who could not be here today, but provided us with a statement to read. She's been out in front on this issue, legally challenging the Department of Energy's move to force the Campbell coal plant to stay open. She was involved in the original settlement that created the plan for closing the plant that was approved by the Michigan Public Service Commission. So I'll go ahead and read Attorney General's statement, and we can pass that along later. Thank you all for coming out today to make your voices heard in the fight for clean energy, affordable utilities, and the right for businesses to conduct themselves free of undue government interference. The retirement of the Campbell coal plant, originally built in the 1960s, has been a matter of extensive planning and analysis by state regulators and the broader interstate power grid. In fact, my department signed a settlement with consumers in 2021 that included the retirement of the Campbell coal plant and made all due preparations to maintain our state's energy load without it. Our plan, were it not curtailed by the baseless actions of the Trump administration just 8 days before it would gone into effect, was set to save Michigan customers nearly $600 million. Never before has the Department of Energy delayed the retirement of a power plant absent a request from the operating utility or local government body. To put it plainly, no one asked for this. The unprecedented order of the DOE fabricates an emergency without evidence, completely ignores the state and federal regulators that approve the plant's retirement, and will potentially put enormous costs onto Michigan utility customers who receive no real benefit. And that's before taking into account the environmental and public health costs of continuing to fuel a coal-powered plant. Michigan must be present in the fight to maintain self-determination over where our power comes from. The DOE ignored my request for rehearing, and as a result, I have filed a petition for review with the United States Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia to overturn this expensive and unlawful order. As I have done throughout my years in office, my department will continue to fight for affordable utility bills and the rights of Michiganders to clean up their energy production. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to State Representative Stephen Wooden.
Thank you very much, Jason. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon to stand up for Michigan ratepayers, to stand up for Michigan's climate, and to stand up for Michigan's future. My name is State Representative Stephen Wooden. I serve and represent the 81st District, which is in Northeast Grand Rapids, going out to Ada Township. But more importantly, I'm a father of a 4-year-old son, and I have a daughter on the way coming after Thanksgiving. And I want to make sure that their future can be here in Michigan. And that means making sure that we keep Michigan affordable, we make Michigan more affordable, we ensure that there are plentiful jobs and a climate that can last for generations to come. And keeping this coal plant open harms them and risks that future for them and every child in this state. Jace mentioned no one here asked for this to remain open. I'm going to dovetail that with one qualifier. The fossil fuel industry asked for this to stay open. We're here today because in 2024, Donald Trump made a deal with the fossil fuel industry. You give me $1 billion to prop up my campaign, and I will prop up your industry. And that's why coal plants like these that were scheduled to close have been forced to stay open, costing Michigan ratepayers $1 million a day at a time when we are still dealing with a cost of living crisis, when a trade war is costing the average Michigan family $2,500 a year. We are forced to keep a coal plant open that's costing ratepayers $1 million a day. Does that make any sense? It does not. Now, in 2023, I didn't have the fortune of serving at the time, but in 2023, the Democratic trifecta in Lansing passed the Clean Energy and Jobs Act to chart us towards a 100% clean energy future, a future that my children can benefit from. And I am honor-bound to protect that future for them and generations to come. And that's why we've defended against attacks and to erode the Clean Energy and Jobs Act, and why we are standing here today to stand up to the Trump administration, to tell them to get this coal plant shut down, to re-shut it down, to listen to local folks, to listen to Michiganders, to listen to the utilities that have already scheduled this closure, instead of propping up a coal plant that doesn't need to stay open and is costing ratepayers millions of dollars. Now, we also know that keeping a coal plant like this open causes harms to our personal health. And to speak more about that, I'd like to bring up Dr. Stephen Ashman. Doctor?
Thank you, Steve Wood. As Steve said, I am a family physician. My name is Steve Ashmead. I have cared for patients in Kent and Ottawa counties for over 35 years. I continue to be a faculty at the MSU College of Human Medicine, as well as a member of the Physicians for Social Responsibility and Michigan Clinicians for Climate Actions. For years, I have enjoyed the Port Sheldon area as I biked, hiked, swam, and kayaked the Pigeon River over to our left and the shores of Lake Michigan behind us. And for over 60 years, the Campbell Generation Plant has provided electric energy for West Michigan through the burning of coal. Unfortunately, burning coal in power plants produces more pollutants than any other fuel source. The time has come to close this plant. The Campbell plant puts all of us at an increased risk of death and disease as a result of pollutants like carbon dioxide, particulate matter 2.5 microns in size and larger and smaller, nitrous oxides, sulfur dioxide, and toxic metals such as arsenic, lead, mercury, and radioactive radium. Exposure is highest in those living closest to the plant. However, as we feel the westerly winds take the emissions from those those smokestacks up there and blow them straight to Grand Rapids and the rest of Michigan. We are sitting here getting the pollution from Wisconsin. It all goes all over the country.
Hold the mic closer, please.
Coal ash contains at least 17 toxic heavy metals and pollutants, including lead, mercury, cadmium, chromium, and selenium, all of which can endanger human health, and at least 6 neurotoxins and 5 known or suspected carcinogens. The Clean Air Task Force estimates that the pollution from the Campbell plant contributes to 44 premature deaths per year. Medical science has had over 250 years to study the health impacts of using coal for heat and energy production. The health effects have been documented at every stage of coal production and combustions, from mining to the disposal of ash after burning. These pollutants directly affect our hearts, blood vessels, lungs, and brains. Children, the elderly like myself, pregnant women, and individuals with chronic disease, and those that work outdoors are at increased risk of exposure to these deadly pollutants. As others have documented, that it is costing consumers millions to keep this power plant open. That does not include the millions of dollars that will be spent on health problems associated with burning of coal, such as asthma, COPD, heart attacks, stroke, cancer, and many other chronic diseases. Sorry. Coal-fired power plants were estimated to cause over 1,000 premature deaths per year in the 2000s in Michigan. Data from 2020 indicates that this number has fallen dramatically to 200 to 300 per year as a result of improvements in air quality from the reduction in the use of coal, closure of coal-fired power plants, and advanced pollution controls. Closure of the Campbell plant will continue this reduction in death due to pollution. There is no energy emergency that justifies this coal plant to continue to harm the people of Michigan. 2024 was the hottest year in recorded history. As we feel right now, heat and humidity are combining in 2025 to create dangerous conditions in the Midwest this summer. Thousands of people die in the United States each year from the direct effects of heat waves and the indirect effects of heat causing worsening of chronic disease. The Campbell plant produces over 8 billion tons of greenhouse gas CO2 per year. Through the continued use of coal-fired power plants, we are guaranteeing that Michigan will only continue to get hotter. I challenge all of you to be stewards of our health and demand immediate closure. We have many less polluting options for production of electricity than dirty coal. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ashmead. And now I'd like to invite John Kinch, Executive Director of Michigan Energy Options. Thank you.
Good afternoon. You guys hear me okay? Yeah, good. Michigan Energy Options is a renewable energy nonprofit company. How about this? Is better? Yeah. Good. So Michigan Energy Options is a renewable energy nonprofit company that works around the state of Michigan. But I'm going to give you my thesis about it today and then reinforce with some examples, and then I can say it again. One is that the renewable energy economy in Michigan is here and it's happening. And the reason it's here and it's happening is because communities want it, businesses want it, and utilities. want it. So to give an example that's very personal to me is what some of the work that Michigan Energy Options has been doing for a number of years. We own and operate a community solar park working with the Lansing Board of Water and Light on a closed landfill in East Lansing. We're helping the DNR and other state agencies bring online solar projects around the state. Example, one of those is Holland State Park. There's solar on the roof of the bathhouse. We helped that project go online. Also in front of meter solar projects we're working on include the Groveland Mine in the Upper Peninsula. What I like about that project is that it's purposely located on a brownfield, and we look to have that one online very soon. But we're not the only ones in this space doing this kind of work. And just this morning, you guys are all reporters. In my news feed, there were a number of stories about solar projects in particular, and also storage projects coming online. So they're announcing the North Water Solar Park in Sheboygan County. It's going to power some 30,000 homes. It's 100 megawatts. That was approved by the county. We have one in Otsego County, 200 megawatts, and that also was approved by the county. And near to where we are today, up the road in Muskegon at the wastewater treatment plant, Consumers Energy is soon to light up a 250 megawatt solar project, early 2026. And what I like about that project is that, again, that's a brownfield, and most people don't want to necessarily live next to a wastewater treatment plant, so it's a good reuse of property such as that. And then there's some batteries that are coming online, and batteries are many uses, but one use you can have for batteries is to shave your pee. So in those hot summer days like we're experiencing today, later in the day when people get home, they turn on their air conditioning and all their other stuff. You've got batteries that can be called upon. This is a facility down in Allegan County. We're going to propose one. You can call on the batteries then to meet that peak demand. So you don't necessarily need to be generating it per se. You've stored it up when you need to use it. So these clean energy solutions are reality. They're not down the road. They're happening today. They're happening all over our country, all over our state. So what you're looking at behind us is the past. It's a backward solution to a 21st century opportunity. And I want to just give a shout out to consumers. They've been going through a whole plan of what to do with Campbell when it's done, when it's closed. So this is just a delay. And one of the plans that I've looked at for Campbell includes more parkland for this area, includes some housing, and ideally is going to include either solar generation on this site because we have all the wires, it's ready to go, or perhaps some sort of battery storage facility in the future. So again, we're standing in front of something which is an artifact, and I just want to remind you that solar and battery and wind and all these kinds of technologies are happening across the state because people want them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. And next, I'd like to invite up Christian Kleinjans, former Ottawa County Commissioner.
Hello, my name is Chris Kleinjans. I'm the former commissioner for the 2nd District of Ottawa County. And I continue to be bewildered as to how a party that enshrines in its platform the sanctity of local control and the absolute necessity of allowing business to do as they please to have run and not walked into the refuge of their daddy in the White House as they seek a solution for a problem that does not exist. I first started hearing about the Save the Campbell operation during our successful 2nd District recall 2 years ago, when advocates for the continuing operation of this plant started appearing at township meetings and on social media. It was only after I won that recall election that I saw the appearance of a campaign to get local units of government to sign onto a statement to support keeping it online. At its core, this action is another small act in the bad performance art that we're seeing play out on a national level with the intention of making everything a national emergency in order to try and make everyone scared about everything all the time and allow for the circumvention of governmental norms and decisions made for the common good. The overwhelming majority of county residents know that the time has come to move on from the Campbell plant. Every ill-guided attempt to bring it as a vote to the people has not gotten out of the idea stage. And I'm not sure why the Ottawa County Board of Commissioners and our elected officials in Lansing and Washington, D.C. have chosen to advocate for this plant to remain open, given the woeful lack of facts to support the idea. But I do know that it is important that we help consumers finish getting this plant closed through the advocacy at the county and state level. my office that I occupied is a testament to local advocacy. Wouldn't have gotten it if there wasn't a recall. People led. We need to do this for the future health of the energy grid, for the environment, and for our citizens. We also need to do it to stop the accelerating costs being incurred by consumers that are going to be passed on to families across the Midwest, many of whom will already be dealing with the added costs of our struggling national economic policy. So if you're a resident, I ask you to call, write your commissioner, write your representative, whose allegiance to fear and not fact helped justify a non-existent national emergency that provided the grandstand for this hollow yet incredibly expensive gesture. And after you've done that, I want you to talk to your neighbors and get them to do that too, because this only helps and this only works if we all get into it. Thanks.
Thank you, Christian. And our last speaker is going to be Parth Sharma, sitting in for Ruby Mullins. He's a young activist from the Portage area, incoming freshman for University of Michigan.
Hello, everyone. My name is Parth Sharma. I'm a 17-year-old youth climate activist from Kalamazoo, Michigan, and I'm here to give some remarks on behalf of youth climate activists like myself. The Trump administration's order to keep the JH Campbell Power Plant open is a direct attack on our future, forcing us to pay for more pollution when we should be moving towards clean energy. Campbell was set to close because it's expensive, unnecessary, and harmful to our health, but Trump stepped in to give coal corporations a bailout at the expense of Michigan families. Coal plants like Campbell release carbon pollution that fuels the climate crisis and toxic pollutants that harm our lungs and hearts, especially dangerous for kids, seniors, and people with asthma. The Trump administration has had a long track record of siding with polluters. He rolled back clean power plan rules meant to cut emissions from power plants. He weakened the Clean Water Act protections threatening the Great Lakes. He is gutting efficiency standards, locking in more climate pollution, and most recently, he is even getting rid of the federal government's authority to take action on climate change, period, claiming that greenhouse gases do not endanger public health and welfare. Every year we delay action means more intense flooding, stronger storms, and higher lake levels threatening Michigan's shoreline communities. And we are seeing the impacts of climate change right now, with more frequent and severe Canadian wildfires that make our air unsafe to breathe. By keeping this plant open, our leaders are leaving my generation with a hotter, more unstable Michigan, one where farming is harder, summers are more dangerous, and our Great Lakes face unprecedented threats. Young people like me are asking, why aren't our elected officials, especially Congressman Bill Huizenga, standing up for us instead of dirty coal? Michigan has the technology, the workers, and the know-how to build a clean energy economy that's healthier and more affordable. But we can't get there if we keep clinging to the past. We're calling on our leaders to stand up to the Trump administration's reckless order, shut down the Campbell coal plant, and invest in the clean, affordable energy future we deserve. We refuse to inherit a Michigan that is unlivable. Our future is worth fighting for, and that fight starts now. Thank you.
Thank you so much to all our speakers, and we wanted to open it up if anybody had any questions. We've got a lot of folks who can answer. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Jordan Rimini with Bridge, Michigan. I believe this one might actually be for Representative Wooden.
Hey, Jordan.
Hi. Good
Long time no
seeing you
see.
again. I was going to say, good seeing you again. Question for you. So we've heard a lot today from the community that they're pleading with legislative leaders to do something, be it at the state or the federal level. Obviously, Congress is one thing, but what can the state government do at all to help impact the ongoing operation of the Campbell Plant?
When it comes to the operation of the Campbell Plant, what I would suggest is supporting the Attorney General's actions against these unlawful abuses of power. One of the things I'm certainly concerned about, I know the Attorney General has already expressed this, is figuring out how is she going to continue to run her office if we don't deliver a budget by October 1st, right? And making sure that we can keep the Attorney General's office open so she can continue to defend Michigan ratepayers against abuses of power like this. And so for me, the biggest objective is getting a budget done on time so that we can allow the Attorney General to continue work like this and also ensure that we have vital services available in the coming fiscal year.
And for residents, it sounds like just reaching out to your local lawmakers, congressional representatives, things of that nature, and making their voice known.
Absolutely. Look, ultimately, I'm not going to claim to be an expert on how to influence President Donald Trump, but I do know that the power of your voice is still the most powerful tool you have. And calling on Congressman Bill Huizenga, calling on your local representatives, calling on your local officials, and telling them to demand that this coal plant be shut down for ratepayers and for our health is crucial. And absent our voice, the power that we have is to ensure that our Attorney General can continue her efforts to fight back against these abuses of power.
Okay, any other questions? Great. Well, thank you all for your attention and for coming out. Yeah, if there's any other questions, I'm happy to take them. One point that I don't know if I heard made was that in 2024, this power plant emitted the same amount of carbon pollution as 1.9 million cars. So just look at that power plant behind me and envision 1.9 million cars just idling. And it's pretty mind-blowing. So any other questions? We've got a lot of experts here. If you have questions and if you think of them later, we're happy to follow up.
We got a lot of community members here if you guys want to talk to them.
Okay, great. Well, that concludes the program, but doesn't, please do talk to folks who are here. They'd love to tell their stories. So thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day. Drive safe. Thanks, everybody. Thank you all for coming.